Hi guys, Chris here, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about the books I read between December 8th and December 14th. First up, I read The Wild Ones by C. Alexander London, and I gave this book 4 stars. This book follows a raccoon named Kit whose parents are murdered by the flealess, which are animals who have owners. This leads to him searching out his uncle for help. When he gets there, he finds out that there is a turf war between the flealess and the wild ones, who are animals that don't have owners. He finds out that the reason his parents may have been murdered is because they might have had proof that ages ago a deal was struck between the leader of the flealess and the leader of the wild ones that ensured that the territory belonged to the wild ones. Kit then must find a way to completely prove the wild ones' claim that the turf belongs to them. All the while, the flealess will be doing everything in their power to stop them from completing that goal. I thought this was quite an interesting premise for a book. I found Kit to be extremely likable, and I enjoyed that despite having grown up out of the city, he didn't let life in the city change who his parents had raised him to be. I liked the characters he encountered, both good and bad, and I thought that the premise of this book was quite interesting. I really found it to be an enjoyable read and am looking forward to seeing what Kit gets up to next. Next up, I read Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library by Chris Grabenstein, and I gave this book 4.25 stars. In this book, we follow Kyle, who wins a contest to spend the night in the city's new library. He and some of his other classmates, who also won the contest, spend the night there, but when they wake up the next morning, they're locked inside and find out that they must figure out how to escape the library, and they obviously can't do anything like go through the front door or an emergency exit. I really enjoyed this book. I liked the fact that there were puzzles that the kids had to figure out, and I liked seeing how they had to utilize the library's resources to figure out how to escape from the library. I really liked Kyle and thought he was a really good main protagonist, and I am quite curious to see what happens with Kyle in the library and Mr. Limoncello in the second book. Next up, I read 2 books by Robin Stevens. The first was First Class Murder, and I gave this book 4.25 stars. In this book, we follow Hazel and Daisy as they take a trip on the Orient Express. They're there with Hazel's dad, who is really disapproving of Hazel and Daisy being detectives, and he's hoping that this trip that Hazel can be a positive influence on Daisy and snap the bad habits he believes she has gained. Unfortunately, while they are there, somebody is murdered, and Hazel and Daisy decide to take up the case as they feel like that's the only way this murder is going to be solved. I am definitely enjoying these books more as we go along. I like the fact that this one took place on the Orient Express and that Hazel's dad was featured in this book. I really liked seeing how Hazel is growing into her own person and isn't letting anybody, including Daisy and her dad, who are some of the most important people in the world to her, change who she wants to be. I thought I had figured out the ending, and it turned out I was wrong, and I always love when mystery or thriller books can bamboozle me before the end. So I really did enjoy this book, and that led me to immediately picking up Jolly Foul Play, which I gave 4.5 stars. In this one, the girls are back at school for the first time since the first book. While there, the head girl ends up getting murdered, and they are the only ones who realize it is murder. This time, all 3 other girls in their dorm get involved, and it's not just Hazel and Daisy solving the crime. At the same time as they're trying to figure out this murder, the head girl who they believed had been killed had secrets on a lot of people in the school, and all of a sudden those secrets are starting to come out, which creates a very unhappy environment in the school and leaves a lot of people with motive to commit this crime. I had absolutely no clue. I was completely confused throughout this book as to who did it. I love that the other girls in their dorm got involved, and again, that Hazel is really standing up to Daisy, and we're starting to see both Hazel and Daisy grow. And I'm just really enjoying this series and the mysteries because, again, pretty much every time they've left me completely confused as to who has committed the crime. And I love when mystery books can do that. Next up, I read Kenzie Kickstarts a Team by Kit Rosewater, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. In this book, we follow Kenzie and her best friend, Shelly. They have loved roller derby since they were little kids, and when they find out that Austin is going to be hosting a junior roller derby team, they decide they absolutely have to be a part of it. There's only one problem. They want to be on the same team, and the only way they can guarantee that they'll be on the same team is if they try out as a team, which means they're a few girls short. They then only have a week to find 3 more girls to fill out their team, and at the same time, Kenzie is dealing with bringing new girls into their group and worrying this may threaten her friendship with Shelly. I really, really, really enjoyed this book. There's a lot of good rep in this book. Kenzie's dad is transgendered, and I would honestly have you pick up this book just for the way it is explained in this book. I have never seen that explained so well. Like, it is just a brilliant way that Kit Rosewater decided to explain how being transgender works. And Kenzie herself has a crush on her neighbor who is also a girl. So like I said, there's definitely some good rep in here, and I'm wondering if we'll see more of that going forward. Also, the girls on the team are quite diverse. Like, here are their portraits, and as you can see, they're all very different, and obviously they were also on the cover, and I like that you've got diversity within the team. And the only reason this book didn't get 5 stars is I felt like it could have done with a little bit more explanation about how roller derby works. I didn't know anything about roller derby, so I was very confused sometimes when they would be talking about it, as I wasn't quite sure what they meant, and maybe that was an intentional choice by the author, but I wished we'd had more information so that I could understand a little bit better what was going on. But otherwise, I really, really enjoyed this book and would definitely recommend you pick it up if it sounds interesting. Next, I read A World Without Princes by Somain Chainani, and I gave this book 4.25 stars. This is the second book in the School for Good and Evil series. This book follows Sophie and Agatha, who return to the school and find that in their absence, things have changed quite a lot, and they have to deal with those changes once they get there. I don't want to say too much more about it because I don't want to spoil book 1. I am still very much enjoying this series, and it is very interesting to see how Agatha and Sophie react to this new situation and the twists and turns their friendship takes throughout this book. I am definitely curious to see what happens in book 3 based on where book 2 ended, so I will probably be reading that in the near future. Lastly, I read Firefight by Brandon Sanderson, and I gave this book 4.25 stars. This is the second book in the Reckoner series. The first book follows David, who lives in a world where one day regular people got these superpowers. Unfortunately, they didn't use them for good, they used them for evil. When David is a child, one of these supercharged humans known as epics ends up murdering his dad, and all David wants is to avenge his father's death. Years later, he ends up trying to become part of the team known as the Reckoners, who are attempting to fight back against the Epics. He really wants to join this team as he thinks this will be his best chance at avenging his father. I can't get into details about what happens in the second book, as they would be massive spoilers for book 1. I wish I had read this a little bit closer to book 1, as some of the finer details were a bit fuzzy in my mind, and I spent the beginning part of the book letting it refresh my memory. But I did really enjoy this book, and I like the way this world is set up and how the powers work, and I thought it was interesting seeing David deal with the new characters he came across in this book while also dealing with the characters he had met in book 1. I really like this series and am quite looking forward to seeing how the third book wraps up. So, since most of the books I read recently were either library books or audiobooks, I only have this book to display. So, this is one of the books I've read recently. Have you read any of these books? If so, let me know in the comment section below. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me an emoji of something you would find in the bathroom, could be a toilet, it could be a shower, it could be a towel, just something you think I would find in a bathroom. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!